Born on November 6, 1956, in Ixelles, Elsene, Marc Dutroux is a Belgian criminal known for his convictions for kidnapping, torture, and murder. He abducted and sexually assaulted 5 young girls in 1989, resulting in imprisonment, release in 1992, and re-imprisonment from December 1995 to March 1996. Arrested again in August 1996, he has remained in prison since. In June 2004, he was sentenced to life in prison for the murders of 2 girls aged 17 and 18, and his 43-year-old male accomplice. His wife received a 30-year prison sentence for starving 2 8-year-olds. Dutroux's criminal history also involved theft, robbery, and drug dealing. A report diagnosed him as a psychopath desensitized to violence. But who is Marc Dutroux? Welcome to our page, Killers Rewind, and enjoy the video. Early year. Marc Dutroux was born on November 6, 1956, in Ixelles, Brussels, to Victor Dutroux and Janine Lawens. He is the oldest of 5 siblings. Dutroux spent a portion of his boyhood in Burundi, which was then part of the Belgian Congo, where his father was a teacher. Dutroux's family returned to Belgium after Burundi attained independence in mid-1962, settling in the hamlet of Ixelles in Hainaut province. Dutroux subsequently claimed that his mother and father molested him. Dutroux's parents divorced in 1972, and his father departed the family home. Dutroux left home shortly after graduating from high school to work as an electrician. Citation required. Dutroux married Françoise Dubois in 1976, and they had 2 children. Dutroux's aggressive actions toward his family soured the marriage. The pair divorced in 1983, with Françoise retaining custody of the children. Beginnings of criminal activities, 1979-1989. Dutroux found new work as a scrap dealer in the late 1970s and supplemented his income by stealing auto components. From 1979 until the present, he was convicted of a number of misdemeanors, including violence, drug dealing, and trading stolen automobiles. Meanwhile, he went to ice skating rinks in Charleroi, Forest, and Montigny-sur-Sambre on a frequent basis, where he would purposefully trip or bump into young female skaters in order to touch them. In October 1980, Dutroux went to a skating rink in Charleroi and got into a fight with another client, Armand Debain, after colliding with Debain's girlfriend repeatedly. A court case resulted in Debain being convicted of assault and battery on Dutroux, despite the fact that Dutroux was barred from driving. Michelle Martin was one of his mistresses. They eventually got married and had 3 more kids together. The first few rapes, 1985-1989. Between 1985 and 1989, Marc Dutroux and Jean van Petegem committed a series of kidnappings in Belgium. Their first known victim, Axel D., implicated Petegem in a criminal gang. They later abducted Sylvie D. and Maria V. in 1985. Maria identified a 3rd man involved in her abduction, who was never found. In 1986, Catherine B. was abducted, and Dutroux had unidentified accomplices. Elizabeth G. was abducted in December 1985, with Petegem revealing Dutroux had filmed her. In 1987, Dutroux, Petegem, and Michelle Martin were arrested. They were convicted in 1989, with Dutroux receiving a harsher sentence for additional crimes. Shockingly, Melchior Wathelet, the Belgian Minister of Justice, ordered Dutroux's early release, ignoring warnings from professionals about his ongoing danger to society, leading to devastating consequences, granting Dutroux state assistance, sleeping pills, and sedatives. Dutroux managed to persuade a health practitioner that he was incapacitated due to mental problems while inside. As a result, he was able to get public assistance from the Belgian government in the amount of $1,200 every month. He also persuaded the doctors that he needed sedatives for his sleeping troubles. Dutroux later used them to sedate his victims. He possessed 7 modest residences, the most of which were empty, and used 3 of them to torture the girls he kidnapped. Despite the fact that he owned many homes, his state support allowance was not lowered. He built a hidden dungeon in the basement of his house in Marcinelle. Psychiatrists who evaluated Dutroux for his trial classified him as a psychopath. Crimes after release. In 1995, Julie Lejeune and Melissa Rousseau, both 8 years old, were kidnapped, imprisoned, sexually abused, and exploited for child pornography. 2 months later, Marchal and Ifya Lambrex were also abducted. Dutroux, Weinstein, and others stole a car, which connected them. Dutroux planned to kill Weinstein, resulting in Weinstein's abduction. Dutroux's arrest for car theft in December 1995 prompted an investigation. When caught, Dutroux and Martin claimed Lejeune and Rousseau were alive, but they had already died from starvation. Sabine Dardenne, 12, and Laetitia Delhaize, 14, were later abducted and subjected to abuse. On August 13, 1996, Dutroux, Martin, and Lelièvre were arrested, and Dutroux confessed. Dardenne and Delhaize were rescued, and the bodies of Lejeune, Rousseau, Weinstein, Marchal, and Lambrex were found. Disturbing home-produced sex films and adult pornography were discovered at Dutroux's properties. Errors during investigation. In 1995, Marc Dutroux's abduction of 2 girls led to his arrest after 14 months, despite his prior criminal record. The police couldn't locate the girls allegedly held at his residence, and disturbing videotapes of Dutroux building the place where the girls were kept were discovered, but left unexamined. Judge Jean-Marc Connerotte was removed in 1996 due to impartiality concerns, and another judge, Jean-Claude Van Espen, resigned due to a close friendship with Michel Nihoul. In 1998, Dutroux briefly escaped during a case file review, leading to the resignation of key officials. He later received sentences for threatening a police officer in 2000 and unrelated charges in 2002. Hairs found in the girls' dungeon were not tested for DNA, despite the lead investigator's requests. Several law enforcement officers, including Georges Zico, were detained on suspicion of ties to Dutroux. Some victim families boycotted the trial following Connerotte's removal, expressing frustration over the lack of progress. Trial. Dutroux's trial began on March 1, 2004, after over 7 years of his arrest. It was a jury trial held in Arlon, Belgium, where he was accused of various crimes, including murders. Marc Dutroux, Michel Lelièvre, Michel Martin, and Jean-Michel Nihoul were the defendants. The jury openly criticized the judge's handling of discussions and victim statements, an unusual move. After 3 months of deliberation on June 17, 2004, Dutroux, Martin, and Lelièvre were found guilty on all charges, but Nihoul's involvement remained undecided. This verdict marked the culmination of a highly publicized and emotionally charged trial that had gripped Belgium for months. Dutroux's testimony. Dutroux claimed involvement in a pedophile network, implicating Michel Nihoul as the mastermind. He admitted to some kidnappings, but denied murder. In 1996, psychiatric tests supported his claim of not being a pedophile. Dutroux confessed to kidnapping and raping other girls and burying Weinstein alive for failing to prevent their deaths. He admitted to collaborating with 2 unnamed police officers in abducting Anne Marchal and Ifya Lambrex, and expressed a desire to protect them. He also confessed to kidnapping and raping Sabine Dardenne and Laetitia Delhaize, and refused to hand Delhaize to Nihoul to protect her. Xavier Magny, Dutroux's lawyer, claimed the prosecution didn't investigate a network around Dutroux. Michel Martin's testimony. According to Martin, Dutroux and Weinstein kidnapped Lejeune and Rousseau. She further said that Dutroux told her he murdered Weinstein. Martin went on to say that Dutroux and Weinstein had murdered Marchal and Lambrex. She also claimed that Lejeune and Rousseau died of starvation in their cellar in 1996, while Dutroux was in jail. She claims she was too afraid to go down to the basement. Martin claimed that Dutroux had chosen to kidnap girls in 1985. He had stated that abducting and raping girls was easier than having affairs with them. He would also have more resources and time to devote to her in this manner. As a result, she was forced to assist him with the kidnappings. Sentencing. Belgium abolished the death penalty in 1996, with the last execution in 1918. At the time of the trial, many Belgians supported the death penalty for Dutroux. However, on June 22, 2004, Dutroux received a life sentence, Martin got 30 years, and Lelièvre received 25 years. The jury went into seclusion to decide on Nihoul's involvement. Dutroux appealed his sentence on June 23. Nihoul, though cleared of kidnapping and conspiracy charges, was convicted of drug-related offenses and sentenced to 5 years in prison. He passed away on October 23, 2019. In 2012, around 2,000 people protested against Martin's potential early release. She was granted parole after serving 16 years, staying under the supervision of the Poor Clares in Malone. She lived in an apartment provided by a previous judge when the convent was sold. In 2013, Dutroux requested early release and house arrest with an ankle bracelet, which was denied. He is currently in solitary confinement at Nivelles jail. Dutroux had the pre-parole right to a mental assessment in October 2019, which was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic.